My name is Mike Finnegan. I'm standing here with Quin Buchtel, maiden name Ripley, and Vern Wagner from SNAP. Quin is a courageous woman that filed this lawsuit this morning against the Diocese of Duluth, and it seeks to hold them accountable for the abuse that she suffered as a child by Father Charles Gormly, and more importantly also seeks to unseal and to make public all the documents that the diocese has, all the documents that Bishop Serba has, that he can make public today on all the offenders. And so they have hundreds, if not thousands, of pages of documents about child sex abuse here in the diocese that they have not made public and they're keeping secret. Because of that, kids are unsafe in the communities, and those need to be made public. So this lawsuit was filed this morning on behalf of Quin. And the other thing that Quin and all of us together are seeking here is for any survivors out there that have been sexually abused as kids, they can come forward and they can get help. There's a new law in Minnesota called the Child Victims Act that gives survivors the opportunity to come forward, get help. They can do that in a confidential way. But the main thing is that that time's running out, and they only have until May of next year. And so people need to come forward soon if they've been hurt. The other thing about this lawsuit is that it seeks to make sure that offenders like Father Brian Lederer, who was just up in Hibbing, who we just found out about within the last 2 weeks, as long as these secrets that the bishop and the diocese are holding on to aren't made public, guys like this will be able to offend and hurt women, hurt young girls. And so we're here today to make sure that these type of secrets get exposed and are made public. I'm going to have Quin step to the front here.
My name is Quin Ripley Buchtel, and I was molested by Father Gormly when I was a student at St. Francis of Assisi School in Brainerd, Minnesota. Father Gormly molested me, but I feel like the diocese abused me. And the reason I feel that way is because the diocese, and particularly the nuns at the school I was attending, knew this was happening. They knew this inappropriateness was going on. Because several of my friends played the organ. They were instructed not to go to the church alone, unattended. We were all told not to go alone, unattended, to the church. While they were practicing, and I was sitting next to them, Father Gormly molested me. I was a Martha sister, which is a person that was an honor for the girls to set out the vestments for the priest before Mass. He molested me then. We were encouraged to go make visits, light candles. He molested me then. I'm coming forward on behalf of other victims, hopefully by seeing me come forward and using my name, they will feel comfortable to do that also, even though I know they don't have to give their names. I feel that there is some accountability that needs to be held. I can't say exactly how this impacted my life, but I know I have suffered with depression for 30 years. Depression is often anger turned inward. I've been hospitalized 4 times with depression. I take medications, and I'm currently under the care of a psychiatrist. I've made some questionable choices throughout my life, and I don't know how they were impacted. But I can't tell you how my life would have been different, which is part of my anger, because I don't have that opportunity. The basic reason that I'm coming forward is to help other victims and survivors, which is a better word. Thank you.
I'm Vern Wagner, and I'm with I'm the Northern Director for the Survivors Network of Those Abused by Priests, SNAP, and want to commend Quin for her courage to come forward. All of us who have been molested by priests had our childhood stolen from us. All of us had to deal with drug abuse, or many of us had to deal with drug abuse, alcohol abuse, suicide, depression, and it affected our being, complete being, that we couldn't understand why it did that to us. We were robbed of our childhood. But because of people like Quin who comes forward, she can also do other folks and make them realize how brave she is. I think of the children that came forward just recently up in Hibbing regarding this man, Father Lederer. Those young people came forward and reported that they were being molested by this priest, and thank God for that, because how many other victims may have been hurt by this man as he continued his career. It bothers me that Father Lederer has been allowed to post bail and with no conditions except that he posted bail. He's still out there. People are not monitoring him. He's not. He could flee. He could leave this country. Remember, he does work for the Vatican. Other priests, bishops, have fled the country. Father Jayapal out of St. Cloud left and went back to India when he was accused of molesting a young woman in St. Cloud. A bishop from Dominican Republic who molested countless children fled to the Vatican and is now being harbored in the Vatican. They do flee. We just had a minister from Finlayson who molested a number of young girls in Finlayson, who now was just captured down in South America and is being extradited now back to the United States, back to Minnesota to stand trial. Why this man was allowed to run free after just posting his bail without anybody monitoring him, I don't understand. That does not protect the community. All that does is give him a chance to get out of jail. I'm all for justice, but because a man wears a collar, a Roman collar, does not make him any different. He should be monitored, and I think that the Justice Department needs to be held accountable for not letting this man to be put out on the street where he's still a danger to children.
Vern, tell us a little bit about the files on him and the other people at the diocese that the bishop still has, and what should be done with those?
One of the questions we have is, again, the files on these men. We cannot get these files out of the diocese. These are held secretly. They've tried in court, and the bishop keeps saying, we're transparent. We want to be transparent. But he's spending thousands and thousands of dollars to keep these records out of the public eye. He doesn't want anybody to see them. This man is a new priest. Supposedly, the diocese said this is an old problem. These were old priests. They're all almost dead now. This issue does not exist. Bottom line is, this man is 29 years old. This was his first assignment. How did they miss the fact that he is an alleged pedophile? How did they miss that? What do they need to know? And what do they know and they're not telling us about this man? Was there anybody, when he was going through the seminary, raise a red flag and say, hey, we have questions about this man, and did that ever happen? What was his training? Did they look for that in this man? Were there any mental health testing that should have identified this? Those are questions that need to be answered, but they won't get answered if they're kept secret in the diocese.
Thank you, Vern. The other piece of it that we know is the perpetrator involved here, Father Charles Gormly. He came from the Diocese of Cheyenne in Wyoming and then was sent here after he had an extended leave of absence. That's a huge red flag for us when we're looking at these for the priests that were moved around and around. The other thing that we saw with him and with a number of other offenders here in the Diocese of Duluth is that they were shipped to Brainerd. And so they used Brainerd, one of the far reaches of this diocese, we believe, as a dumping ground for priests that had problems. And so Father Gormly is another example of that. And there are a number of priests, I think 8 in number, that were all in, I don't have it in front of me, but there's a number of priests that were here in the diocese, had problems, and were shipped over to Brainerd, where they're encountered other unsuspecting people. And I do want to, again, thank Quin for coming forward. She's an incredibly courageous woman. And her being here today is a testament to her getting some of her strength back and reaching out to other people. So thank you, Quin.
Welcome.
Do you have any questions?
I just wanted to know, what's the next step now? What are you guys hoping to accomplish, and when do you hope to see a turnover, or I guess, whatever it is that you're seeking?
So we're, right now, this is the 4th case that we have involving the Diocese of Duluth that we filed. And so now Quin is a part of that effort to unearth their secrets and make those public. We're actually back in court again this Thursday with the Diocese of Duluth, trying to get those records and get those documents on all the perpetrators in this diocese so that the public can know and kids can be better protected. And so that's part of this effort. In Quin's case individually, as soon as we're able to, which is very soon, we're going to be requesting all those documents in this case as well, so that those can be made public.
Can I ask, is
Yeah.
the
Joanna?
priest that who did all these things, is he still active? Is he still working?
He's dead, and so the priest here, Charles Gormly, he's deceased, but the abuse that he perpetrated is very much alive. For Quin and for so many other survivors, it's still there. It hurts every day, and the other piece of it that hurts is that the diocese and the bishop are keeping those secrets, keeping those files secret, and until they come clean and put that stuff out there, it only adds more salt to the wounds.
And there's no way to really get records from the court, or, I mean, how is it that they're able to keep these records and there's no access to them?
So the diocese and the bishop, each bishop has records on every single offender that was here in the diocese. So the dozens of offenders that were here in the diocese, they keep a huge file on each one, sometimes hundreds, if not thousands of pages of documents on each one. And those are the documents that are sitting here as evidence of these crimes in the diocese files. And so far they've fought tooth and nail in court to keep us from getting those, and to make sure that they don't go to the public. And so that's the main emphasis of this lawsuit and the main effort that's going to be made going forward.
What's your fear for the people of Duluth, or for the people who do attend, service?
That's right here. So the question was, what's my fear for the people of Duluth and the people in this diocese? Individuals like this that are out there offending people right now within the last year or two, and that until this diocese and this bishop comes clean on what they know, we're going to see more offenders like this out in the community, and kids are at risk. And so we're here asking the bishop to do this on his own, to come clean, release these documents to the public. The Archbishop in St. Paul did it, the bishop in Winona did it, and now the top official at St. John's Abbey did it on his own. So this bishop can do it. He's choosing not to. He's choosing to fight that. And so we're going to continue our efforts until that stuff becomes known.
I'll talk to Quin real quick.
Yes.
Sure. Questions. Thank you. You talked about some of the effects that this has had on you. For people that are probably wondering, obviously it's been some time since this has happened. Did you try coming out beforehand?
In the 90s, I actually came with a friend of mine who was an attorney to see Jeff Anderson, and I was told at that time that the statute of limitations had run out. And it wasn't until last summer that I read in the paper that statute of limitations had been lifted. So at that point I discussed it with my husband, and we decided that now would be the time to come out again and meet with Mr. Anderson and his associates.
And what's your goal with this?
My goal is, number one, to hold the diocese accountable, because I know that I was not his only victim. Someone very close to me was also his victim. My goal is to have the church release those documents. My personal goal is depression, is anger turned inward, is to maybe hopefully some of that anger might lift. and I'll be able to have a more stable mental health and productive life.
Thank you.
Mhm.
You said, I just have one quick question. You said that the time is running out, that they have till next May to
Yeah.
come forward?
So as Quin mentioned, for decades here in Minnesota, survivors of child sex abuse have been shut out. The courthouse doors have been shut to them because of the statute of limitations. Recently, the Minnesota legislature opened that up, but only for a short period of time. They opened it up under the Child Victims Act. And so now survivors can come forward. They can do that confidentially so that their name isn't known to the public, but they only have until May of 2016 to do that. And so time's running out, and for people that want to get help, they can get help. They need to come forward soon.